Bank of America. They have their special lenders.
Everybody, thank you for tuning in today. Backed by popular demand, Ellie Perlman. You guys wanted her, so I reached out to her and asked her to come back. And today we're going to talk about how to finance your multifamily investments. So Ellie is a real professional at this. She's doing it daily, has lots of great insight. So Ellie, thank you for coming in again.
Of course, always happy to be here, Joe.
Yeah, and we caught her. She's getting ready to get on a plane, so we have to do this quick today. So she's a traveler. Ellie, so if I'm a first-time investor, I want to buy a commercial deal, 5 units or more. Actually, we can talk about if you want to have time to get into residential on the 1 to 4 units, we can do that as well. But on the 5 units plus, why don't you tell us the guidelines that you're seeing out there, or the requirements for buying a commercial multifamily property?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we're talking about financing, usually lenders view 5 units and above as commercial. So even if it's technically residential because it's multifamily, it is considered to be commercial. And what that means is that there's a whole different world of financing other than the conventional banking that we know of, that have mainly advantages. So basically, I mean, today if you buy a single family home or duplex, triplex, you go to the bank, Bank of America or any other bank, they check your credit score and your history with them, and they give you a certain loan, a mortgage basically.
25% down typically, right? Or is it more now?
Well, it depends. With the smaller properties, to be honest, that's not my area of expertise.
Right.
So you probably know more.
The residential will be like,
the residential.
You could get it with a lot less down, 1 to 4s.
Which I do not recommend over leverage, by the way. But when it comes to 5,
I don't either.
When it comes to 5 units and above the commercial real estate, then the down payment can be anywhere between 20%, which is slightly hard to get these days, all the way to usually 30 to 40%.
Okay.
But the main advantage is that once it falls under commercial, 5 units and above, then you have some subsidy from the government when it comes to the interest rate of payment. So it falls under, it's called agency loans. And you don't get them at Bank of America. They have their special lenders that are authorized by the government to give those loans, and they underwrite, meaning they analyze those deals, and they decide how much they can give you as far of the loan. But it's, for the most part, it's a much favorable loan with better terms than it is when if you just go to a bank and go to Bank of America or Chase and get just a loan like a regular mortgage.
This is a Freddie Mac.
Yeah.
Fannie Mae. Okay.
They're called Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. They're pretty similar, but they have some differences. And usually right now what we see in terms of interest rates, they're risen a little bit, so it can be anywhere between 4.5 to 4.7, 4.8%. Can be a little bit higher or lower, but what you get is something wonderful that you usually don't get if you go with smaller properties of 1, 2, 3 units, which is interest only. Okay. So many times, and it's especially important because a lot of properties that we buy, we need a year or two to renovate the units, the clubhouse, and the amenities. So you can get actually minimum of 1 year of interest only payment, and sometimes even 10 years of interest only. Which is great because it allows you to focus only on the interest payments, and you're locking in an interest rate for 5, 6, 7, 10 years, whichever the term of the loan is. So this all sounds great. What you need to also know is that in order to get those loans, the lenders are not really looking at your credit score, but they're looking at 2 things.
Property.
Exactly. One thing is the property. They're looking at how much money the property is producing, what are the expenses today, and how much they believe that you can bring the expenses to. They're not really analyzing the market with the premiums that you think you can charge. So if I see a building and I say, okay, you know what, I can renovate the kitchen, the bathroom, the floor and increase the rents by $150, that's good if you can do it. The lenders are not going to take that into account because they're being very conservative. Basically, what happens is that when they offer you the loan, they look at the property and how much it can produce, and in the future, regardless of the premiums due to renovation. So that's out of their equation.
Yep.
The second part, they're looking at you and they're looking at your experience as an investor. If you bought any properties in this area, do you know how to do, what you want to do, which is to buy and hold?
Yeah, they're just looking at the risk of you as an operator.
Exactly. And specifically, they're looking into your liquidity and your net worth. So in order to qualify for a commercial loan, you need to have a net worth that is equal to the loan amount. So if you're buying a property for a $5 million, if you need a $5 million loan, you need to have a net worth of $5 million in order to get this loan.
Okay.
And net worth is basically, it's not including the home that you live in. So that could be, for some people, that's not a problem. For others, it's a little bit of a challenge. And in addition to the net worth requirement, you're also required to have liquidity, which is equal to 9 to 12 payments, full loan payments.
Right.
So that's usually something that many investors who start looking into larger, deals, 5 units and above, they're unaware of that.
Yeah. If you've been buying residential, all of a sudden you're stepping into commercial. It's a completely different ball game. So this is great insight. Now, with the interest-only loans, you have to be, in the last downturn, a lot of people got caught with those. They are great. They do serve their purpose, but make sure that if, in that loan, when you have to start making the principal payments, you're ready for that. You've hit your numbers. Otherwise, you want to look at refining and sooner than later, because it can get to be a bit of a daunting task having to come up with some of those payments, but that's some great insight. So you don't have that net worth. Is there a way of getting around that?
Yes and no. So you can get a loan.
Ellie never gives a straight answer. There's always a if not that,
like
then
a
this.
good lawyer.
Yeah.
Well, you can't really get a loan unless somebody has the appropriate net worth. So if it's not you, then it has to be someone else. It's like I've been hearing a lot. It's pretty popular, buying property with zero money down. There's no such thing.
Yeah.
Somebody, if it's not your money, it's someone else's.
Somebody's paying that. Yeah.
Exactly. So what you can do is partner with someone. You can find someone that has that liquidity and net worth, and this person can actually be partner with you and sign on the loan, and you can reward this person. Usually, if you give that person a
piece of the equity,
exactly, and you share that, and it's always better, because what's the alternative? Not doing the deal, because you can't even get there. So it's better to have a smaller piece of a pie than have no pie because you want it all for yourself.
A little bit of something is better than a whole lot of nothing. So,
yeah, exactly.
It's now, how do you go about finding a co-signer? Friends and family, or do you want to get, I don't know if you want to get business with family?
Well, yeah, it depends which family.
Right, yeah.
I'm very lucky, but I know not a lot of families are that, open and good to do business with. But usually I would say, yes, start by looking into your own network. Go to if you have, your parents, your uncle, your friends, someone who can trust you, because the person who signs on the loan needs to feel comfortable with you and with the investment. Usually those loans are non-recourse, which means that if something happens and you can't pay the debt, then the signee is not on the hook for the entire loan amount. The lender can only sell the property and get his collateral from the collateral is the property, but there's a bad boy carve out in most of those loans, which means that's the case, it's non-recourse, but if the owner did something shady, if there was a fraud, then the lender can go after the signer's other assets. So
Right.
that's why trust is very important here. So I would start, with your friends and family.
Yeah.
But you can also meet people in different real estate conferences, meetups. You have
Networking.
investors, exactly, network. You have
Yeah.
them all over the place, across the U.S. here, and it's an interesting way because there's some people who actually want to have to own real estate, but
Sure.
you don't have the time to
Well, there's a
look
lot
for
of
a
people.
deal. And
Yeah, if you're a good operator and you can go out and raise money, you can do syndications and you can syndicate a deal and pull in money. But when you do get into that, you need to know you've got to operate on par. I mean, you've got to really do a nice job with it. And then once you've done that and proven yourself, then that money will come a lot easier. So. So syndications is also a great way to go if your friends and family doesn't work out. Don't give up, but you are going to have to give a piece of the deal up, and it's just part of the growth process.
it's business.
It is. It's just business. So, on that note, Ellie, thank you very much for coming in. I'm going to put Ellie's information, and she does have your blog or your podcast.
Yeah, I have a weekly podcast that is called That Really Happened, Unbelievable Real Estate Stories, and I bring investors and operators to talk about their investment stories and kind of it gives you a glimpse into the the behind the scene of real estate investing.
It's a great podcast to listen to, so make sure you check out Ellie's podcast and do make sure you subscribe. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you.